Hello, my darlings. You're listening to Series 2 of the Auntie M podcast of Surviving Self-Care with Auntie P and a special guest, so let's go!
Hi, how are you, Auntie M? How are you today?
Hi, Auntie P. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm full of lovely sea bass and pasta. So I had a delicious lunch that I cooked because I've been watching Netflix cooking shows. How are you, Em?
I'm good. I'm busy. I'm about to go into show week, so I'm just sort of cleaning my house, readying for that.
Lots of jazz hands.
Doing all the jazz hands and keeping my legs together.
Very important.
Very, very important. So today's episode, as you know, Series 2, we're talking about surviving self-care. And in these 6 episodes, we've been breaking it down. So far, we've done mental health, exercise, and last week we did diet. And actually, on a note on that, on a previous podcast, we actually had a listener write into the show. Do you remember we were asking P about whether spaghetti hoops are vegan? Not all of them are.
Dun, dun, dun.
Spaghetti hoops are not all vegan.
What's the animal-based ingredient?
Something in the tomato sauce, apparently, doesn't make it vegan. This listener was quite adamant that we put this in the show. Thank you, Hermione. That's right. But today we're talking about surviving aging. Now, I know that some of you, well, a lot of you I know are around our age. We're sort of middle-aged, but we hope that there's lots of ages listening to the show. But it's really important that we talk about these things. Sometimes I think we put it to the side. But today we're going to be talking all about aging, and how to navigate our golden years. And we have someone on the show today who is living theirs to the fullest. Let me introduce a very special guest, finance officer, magistrate, and now an international TV and film superstar. It's Victoria Watkins.
Hello. Oh, that really bigged me up. I'm feeling quite puffed up now.
Yeah. Vicky, it's all right. We call you Vicky.
Oh, absolutely. Victoria's such a mouthful.
Oh, yeah. Well, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the podcast?
Yes. Well, I'm 70 years old and I have been married for nearly 50 years. I can't believe it. I was a child bride. And we have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters who are both teenagers now, 19 and 16. So can't believe that. Yes, we live in Purley, and as you mentioned, for the vast majority of my working life, when I went back to work after I had the girls, I was the finance officer in a school for children with severe learning difficulties, which was just a dream job. It was an amazing place to be. The kids and the staff and everybody was absolutely fantastic. It was tough, more for the class staff, but such a joyful place to be, because everybody focused on what the children could do rather than what they couldn't do.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was.
And so, well, that's what P does as well. She works in a school.
Yeah, I'm a teacher.
With
with students with learning difficulties, so that's cool.
Oh, interesting.
It's the best job in the world, you're right.
Oh, it is the best job. It's tough.
See, P was telling me that, she was teaching her class how to cut an onion, which is something we take for granted. But
I know.
It's just, these little achievements.
Absolutely. And I mean, because we were at the severe end of learning needs, our children, geography could be, can you find your way to the office with the register? And history could be what happened yesterday.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So you have retired. How old were you when you retired?
I was very lucky that I retired actually at 60. So I've been retired for 10 years now.
Wow.
What have you been doing with your 10 years?
I was still magistrating for the first couple of years that I'd retired, so I was able to be a bit more flexible about the days that I went in. But I gradually began to feel huge frustration with the ails of mostly of the Crown Prosecution Service, that
Yeah.
the number of trials that went belly up because witnesses hadn't been warned and papers hadn't been served. And it was so frustrating. And because I had this thought in my mind that I wanted to have a go at doing sporting artist work, I thought I can't really marry the two because you need to be very flexible.
Yeah.
And, so I thought, well, I'll I'd done magistrating for 23 years. So I thought, well, I've done my bit. I'll bow out gracefully and then give the extra work a go.
And what?
So yeah, sorry, P, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, what do you do? What sort of extra work? But was your question better, Merv?
It was the same.
Because I've been asking lots.
It's been great. And that's one of the things I think I love about it the most. It's totally random, that no two jobs are the same. And, I have run around London with an animatronic orangutan who was very, very lifelike.
Just for fun. I mean,
no, it was probably about 3 years ago now, and Iceland, the supermarket, were doing a big promotion saying that they weren't using any palm oil in their, so that the orang's habitat wasn't being destroyed by them. And so to sort of reinforce that, there was a few of us who had been hired to go to lots of the iconic places, like the London Eye and places like that. And honestly, the guy in the orang suit, it was so lifelike. And there was somebody with a control panel who was moving eyebrows and all sorts of these things. And people's faces, because it was hilarious. But the funniest thing about that was that I can't remember the guy's name, but say it was Alan. And every time they shouted cut, Alan just walked back in normal fashion, which looked even funnier when he was an orang.
I like that. I think all orangutans should be called Alan.
Definitely.
From now on.
Definitely.
So,
yes.
Tell us, Vicky, is there anything... No, sorry. Can you tell us anything that you've been in that we would know?
Very often, things that you might have been in, you either get left on the cutting room floor. I was in an episode, the very first episode of Ricky Gervais's Afterlife. And I thought, brilliant, because I was sitting in a restaurant next to him and Tracy Ann Overman, and she swore, and the chap I was sitting with, we had to react. And so we said, we're right in the camera line, we're going to be seen. And when the episode came out, we were a blur in the background.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they didn't use that bit. But recently, I did actually have my first speaking bit. In the last month, there was a series on BBC Two called The Witchfinder, a comedy series, yes. And I was in, I think it's the very last episode, as this chap John's mother, and I got shot by Reece Shearsmith. So, and I
brilliant.
Spent all day being shot by him. So, and then last week, but again, it'll be a spit and a cough in the background. Call the midwife. Probably my two biggest on-screen claims to fame. Some years ago now, I did the British Seniors Over 50s life insurance. And so I got to be, my hair was even a different colour then. And I got to be with the featured lady. So you see me a lot on that. And then there was a drama called The Cry with the girl, I can't remember her name. She used to be in Doctor Who. So we were all on this static plane doing this filming, and for some reason they said just come in and sit down. So we all found a seat, and then for some reason I got picked out. I was in the middle somewhere, and they said, "Oh, can you come up and sit here?" And I was right next to her and the leading man.
Ooh, that's because you're so beautiful.
Staring into space acting.
Yeah. But looking gorgeous while you do it, obviously.
Not sure about that. Some things I have definitely not looked gorgeous in.
Like, once you're a bit older, I was talking to a friend the other day about career changing anyway, But how did you find it, making that shift from your job that you'd had for 20 years, 25 years to
23, yeah,
to being an extra? How did
It was really exciting because I think it was something that I had thought about for quite a long time. And obviously, being involved with shows and things, one has an interest in performance. And so it was really exciting.
Did anybody sort of challenge you on it and say, did you get any sort of negative feedback like, oh, you're too old to do it? Did anybody?
No, fortunately not. It's been quite the reverse, actually. People, but it's people that know us and been very supportive, and it's really interesting. But certainly, I think there's a lot of things you just have to take life by the balls, really, sometimes. And I think I have a very low boredom threshold, so I'm always thinking, what can I do? What can I do?
Yeah, because I think this is I think. Let's talk about our parents' generation. When the idea of retirement was the idea of sort of stopping and doing gardening, and the WI or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how do you think that? How would you describe like a modern day retirement?
I think it's very different. I mean, as I say, we were incredibly lucky, I think, because I was 60, my husband was 65 when we both retired 10 years ago. And we made that decision and said, if we can possibly, support ourselves and have a reasonable life, let's do it, because we'd lost a couple of friends who never reached retirement age. And we thought, what's it all for? You work like a dog all your life. And if you then are too old and decrepit or whatever to actually enjoy that time of your life, then there's no point. And so we do consider ourselves incredibly lucky that we were able to do that, because so many people now are going to be, into mid and late 60s before they even get the chance to do it. And I think that, and I think people generally, when I look back at, people of my parents' generation, they were so much older, I think, than we are now. And, I mean,
absolutely.
I think 40's the new. No, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, that's right. 40's the new 30.
That's it. Yes. And I think people generally are younger and more active, hopefully. I mean, I have got some people who don't do very much, but so I think sometimes people have been old all their lives.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people in their 60s and 70s now are so much younger seeming or feeling than they were, say, 50 years ago?
I'm not sure. I mean, opportunity is one thing. There's a lot to my mind. I think Denver and I, my husband, have always been very open-minded. We've always embraced new things, and I think there's so much opportunity out there now. We said, really, there's so much about modern life that is fantastic. It's so easy for people of our generation to moan about things. But really, the two biggest things that I think is that people's jobs are less secure. And, trying to buy a home is so difficult compared to when we were buying our first home. Yeah. It literally was 2 or 3 times your salary. It was very attainable. And so we were much luckier from that point of view. But in terms of travel, opportunities, entertainment, holidays.
Technology, I think.
Technology is so exciting. So exciting. I mean, I do worry a little bit about our 2 granddaughters with social media, particularly the younger one, because she does suffer from anxiety. And I know that she does judge herself a bit by how many likes she's getting on Instagram, which I think is a bit sad. But I think overall life is just fantastic.
Oh, well, that's a really nice way of looking at it. And, me and P often have conversations, where we sort of talk about worrying, what well, P sort of looked it up about like the invisible woman of getting older and becoming invisible, and you know, and I think it's really important to know that there is so much life out there to have,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to stop. I think it's kind of a really encouraging and sort of happy, hopeful thing to kind of keep with us.
Absolutely. And this, as I say, but I think for people of our generation who retired now, there's so many more opportunities for, walking groups and the University of the Third Age, which I've not done things with because I haven't had the time.
Yeah.
All sorts of things that people can do with that. And there's so many more opportunities. I mean, we've got a book about free stuff to do in London. And there's loads of stuff in there that you can do, and it's fantastic. I mean, we're slightly curtailed now because of my mum who lives with us and has got Alzheimer's, so we're very glad that we did a lot of travelling when we first retired. So we're not quite so.
And how old's your mum?
She's 98.
Wow.
I think
98.
Yeah, I think she's going for the ton. Definitely.
Well, let's
that
hope so.
telegram.
So, can you tell us a bit more about this University of the Third Age?
Yes, I don't know masses about it because, as I say, I've not actually done it. But there are organisations that run all over the place, and you would join your local one. And they have all sorts of courses. You can do language courses, I think. There are walking groups. There's all sorts of activities that people can do depending on what their interests are. And I think it's either very cheap or free even.
Wow.
And the biggest thing for us, though, I have to say, and it was something that influenced where we were going to move to when we moved, is having our freedom passes. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Always takes credit, but it was Ken Livingstone who started it. And that means that we can travel on any form of transport almost 24 hours a day. And it's fantastic.
Wow.
Wow.
So sorry to those of you that have to pay.
Oh.
Yeah. We want free stuff.
Just to say, we'll post a link to the University of the Third Age website on our next one of our posts.
Now, obviously, you're 70 years old, but how old do you feel inside? Because I feel like I'm about 20, in my 20s. I sort of still feel the same. Do you have like an age where you just feel like, I feel that age?
I think 40.
inside?
If I could have stopped at any age that I've been, it would be 40, because my 40s were, life is fantastic now, but I think in my 40s, you still felt young enough to sort of be a bit attractive and out there. I don't think my husband would be thrilled to hear me say that. But old enough that you cared a little less about what people thought of you. You had more confidence. So I think in my head, I'm still 40. And I mean, Denver always says, the secret to life is never to grow up. Absolutely. And, as going clubbing in Ibiza in July for the second time is, I think, going to be proving it.
Wow. Do you go clubbing in a nightclub that young people and all different people in it?
Yeah.
What? Tell us about that.
And we've always had a love for all types of music, and anybody that says, "Oh, modern music shit," is just talking out of their bottom. Because there is plenty of really good music, and a lot of the really good club music is just fantastic. And we sort of got into it, and my younger daughter works in the music industry, so she's often been talking to Denver about it. And his hobby, he tinkers in his workshop a lot, but he listens to gaydar radio while he's in there. So he's sort of leaping around his workshop. And for his...
I just have this image of you, Vicky, in this like neon lycra with glow sticks, right? Like all the sparkles, Glastonbury style sparkles. living your best life. I mean, P, this is a holiday we
you
need to do.
Honestly, it was fantastic. And everywhere we went in Ibiza, every restaurant we went to had the most amazing sound systems and fantastic music. And the chill out beaches we went to and watched the sun go down, Cafe Del Mar, which was fabulous. And everybody wanted their picture taken with the old bloke who was clubbing. He was quite a celebrity. We were having to drag him out at times. And so we did that for his 70th birthday, and it was honestly one of the best trips. So we're going with both our daughters in July. We were going to go for my 70th last summer, and the clubs weren't open, unfortunately. So we said, all right, we'll do this for our 50th wedding anniversary. So I think she's booked to see Calvin Harris. Yes.
Can I just say, P, you don't understand how cool Vicky is. I mean,
extremely cool.
She's cooler than the two of us put together.
Can I ask a cheeky question? So your hair is a really beautiful shade of white. Does it glow under the UV?
Do you know, the last time we went, my hair was a different colour. I was still colouring it then. So it'll be interesting. I will let you know when we come back.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought about that.
I want you to start an Instagram page called Old Man Clubbing, right? and then I want to follow that page of just your husband, being adorned in Ibiza. That sounds amazing.
When we went to Bora Bora Beach, there were 5 of us because daughter was married at that time. So it was her and her husband, and my sister who lives in Mallorca came across as well. And out of the 5 of us, the one person offered drugs on the beach was Denver. And said, speak to my daughter, because he said, I want to sit on the balcony with a spliff and watch the sun come up. And he did.
So that kind of brings us quite nicely on to something I really want to ask about, which is hormones and menopause. And like you say, when you we're both in our early 40s, and right at the beginning, we're 40.
Amazing.
And I'm really struggling with it. I don't know. Like I keep thinking, I'm making that jump. I'm not young anymore. I need to be an adult, and I'm worried about my body and like weird aches and pains and hormone changes and stuff. And I just wanted to ask you about that whole process of kind of midlife through menopause. What were the sorts of things you noticed, the things you would advise people on, if things that might come up?
Yeah, I mean, I started the menopause relatively early. I think I was late 40s. And late 40s, maybe touching on 50. And I just started to realise that I was getting some hot flashes, and really weird. It just comes up from your toes all the way up. You suddenly feel oh gosh, I'm tingling. And the other thing was over emotional, bursting into tears at the drop of a hat, and not knowing why you were crying, and a bit irritable and so on. And so I spoke to the doctor about it. I had a very good doctor. And so I tried HRT, and it took me a while. And that's the thing I would say to anybody. I am 100% behind HRT. Why suffer if you don't have to?
Right.
And, but it did take a while. It took me several goes to find the one that was right for me. Because what I didn't want to do, having more or less got rid of periods, was to start them again, which some of the HRTs do. Some of them do. So I thought, no, don't want to do that.
No, thank you.
And so I think it was the third one that I tried, which a friend had told me about as well. And I was on it for 12 years, and it was fantastic. I didn't really want to come off it, but they were saying, well, they can do a blood test to see if you're through the menopause. And that's how we knew I was perimenopause. They did a blood test. And so I didn't really want to come off, because one of the benefits as well is that it's bone strengthening. And so for a while, the doctor did put me on, I can't remember what they were, but she said it's a bit like HRT, but without the HRT, it will still give you the bone strengthening bit.
Okay.
So I was on
Right.
that for a while afterwards, and I had some bone density scans and everything was fine. So I'm not on that anymore.
Yeah, it's
And
just it's so interesting. I mean, I know that recently a lot more people are talking about the menopause because it's it's something that periods was
Yeah.
a big thing that we all talked
couldn't
about,
talk
especially,
about.
but we never spoke about menopause. I mean, all I remember is my mum had a hysterectomy when I was very little, and I remember it happening because I remember her coming home and her tummy was all blue, like where they'd put ink or something. It was just one of those visceral memories you have. But like, yeah, I mean, it never spoken about, but my sister is of that age now, and so it's kind of nice that we're being more open and talking. It's so
It's
important because
Yeah.
it's like so many women we have periods. I mean, Purdy hasn't got children, but I mean, you're still going through even now I still don't know where I'm going to have a period. I've got no idea. And I'm 40, and now I'm going to start thinking about going through the menopause. I already just got to grips with the other one. But yeah, I think it's really important. So thank you for sharing. I mean, it's good to know that there is another side. You come out the other side.
And as I say, anybody that's doubtful about HRT, don't be. You just need to find the one that's right for you. But why also is it called menopause?
Yeah.
Pause.
The lady pause.
Yes.
Lady pause.
P, I'm making those t-shirts immediately.
Okay. Ding dong.
Ding dong. Lady pause.
So I've got another question about that around that, because a lot of what we've been talking about is self-care, so looking after yourself, and so that I guess when we get to old age, we're the fittest and the ready for that retirement joy. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was, we've also connected that quite a lot in previous podcasts to self-image, and how one sees oneself. What about the physical changes that you could see as you went through your 40s, 50s, 60s? How was that experience?
Yeah, I think it is a bit tough. None of us want to see wrinkles, and I'll put my hand up and say a few times I did have some fillers in what they call the marionette lines down here, either side of your nose and down either side of your mouth. And they were great. And it was really funny because the first time I had it done, I didn't tell Denver I was doing it. And I came back and he said not a word. And a week went by and he said not a word. And in the end, I said, have you not noticed anything different? He said, is your hair different? I said, for God's sake.
I spent £400 on this.
And yet my younger daughter, when I saw her the first time afterwards, she said, you've had something done. And they were great. Ooh. But I have to say, the last time I went, which was a few years ago now, they said, no, I'm afraid I don't think fillers would be right anymore. I could have ended up looking like the Godfather. It would have to be that now, a bit of lift.
Oh,
right. Well, it would have filled and dropped.
It would not have looked great. So, and I think most of us have seen people on television who look a bit bizarre because they've had too much filler. So I haven't done anything since then. And I am embracing it. My one regret, and I say this to all the young people out there, don't sit in the sun. When I was a teenager in the 60s and nobody knew about sun damage and stuff like that. And I can remember we would put lemon juice, olive oil, fry ourselves in the sun.
Just cooking yourself.
We all wanted to be as brown as possible. Now, please don't, because it is a killer. And I do have a lot of sun damage, which I do regret. But,
yeah, because the sun is the big cause of age. Well, what we call age spots, but they're actually just from sun damage, and wrinkles as well. It's all from the sun. I mean, this is a tip for all our listeners: buy moisturizer with SPF in it.
Yeah.
as just a base, and at least 30. I have one that's a 35. I put it on every day, on my hands, on my face. And I mean, I've got a lot of tattoos, so I'm always aware I put factor 50 because I want to keep those good. But I just use it, and you still tan, but you don't have that same amount of sun, that UV damage that you can get, and that is a big cause of, like, especially aging. I mean, we might as well just all freeze ourselves at night, oxygen tents.
Just climb into a freezer.
I mean, I've got a whole load of sun damage on my forehead. I get every summer now. I get this kind of weird brown mottling all across half my forehead and around one of my eyes, and I think that's from sun damage.
Yeah.
But, slash aging.
Yeah.
Slash hormones. Who knows? But I agree. And also, when I was researching it, hands, face, but also neck and your this bit. What's it? Décolletage. Because that bit ages really fast and catches the sun really fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does still to this day. Still bothers me rather. I feel like a tortoise. Hey ho.
But the thing is, I mean, I will, if it's all right with Vicky, I will be sharing a picture of you to introduce you as our guest. You are so glamorous and so beautiful. Honestly, I mean, no, for real, we got to, it's important. And, I think you look amazing. Mm-hmm. And so I think me and P will both have conversations about, yes, I want to be like that. I want my hair.
I think that's it. You see some people in their 70s who look like old ladies, and that was one of the things that I was most concerned about when I had all the colour stripped out of my hair, because I couldn't just let it grow out, because doing the extra work, it would have not been a good look. So it had to be one or the other. So I spent a fortune having all of this done. And my biggest fear was that I was just going to look like an old lady. And I was so relieved when everybody said, "No, you don't. I really like it. Don't ever go back to dyeing your hair." I just remembered something that somebody once said to me, which I think is very true, that the most important things in life are something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is lovely. And on that note, we better bring this podcast to a close. I know we could talk it forever, couldn't we, girl?
You two beauties for ages. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Well, Vicky, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was a real pleasure talking to you, and I hope that our listeners have got something out of today and maybe spend this short while with us having a think about yourself and your own journey through life. And if you want to get in contact with the show, we're in all the usual places: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Auntie M Podcast. And that's just it. So I'm going to say goodbye. We love you all.
Goodbye. Thank you very much, Vicky. Bye.
Bye, Vicky. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Series 2 of the Auntie M podcast, Surviving Self-Care, with Auntie P and a special guest. Let's go!
Hello.
Would you like me to do that again,
Sí,
P?
por favor.
Sí, por favor. Okay, I won't do the let's go. Right, here we go. Restart. Right.